You need to purge. It's essential for closure.
No.
And I've got watermelon. It's everyone's favorite low-calorie food. Basically celery in a Lily Pulitzer dress.
Can we move on to step 2 so I can say no to that?
Step 2, art therapy.
No.
I soaked you an extra lump of clay.
I just want to get into my bed and watch that show where terrible people buy tiny houses.
All right, but I want you to know I'm proud of you. I know it was hard to say no to Phil, but it's so much better that you stopped it before it started.
Yeah, well.
No, I'm not gonna let you put a negative spin on this. You are my Shiro.
Please don't tell me why.
I'll tell you why. You were strong when you made a clean break. You weren't weak like I was when I slept with Saul. Why are you defiling my watermelon?
Because they don't sell them like this.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love that clip because Shiro.
Well, she's my Shiro in that clip, but that's nice of you to say.
Let's talk about season 2, because as we were saying backstage, in season 1, both of these women's lives fall apart when their husbands decide to be together.
Right.
And it's you and Jane's character, Grace, salvaging what's left and kind of getting yourselves back together. This
And we
season,
don't like each other very much.
at all.
No.
At all. It's literally a match made in hell, I would say, but very funny hell. But in season 2, I mean, there's a whole slew of things happening, involving a driver's license, a yam lube business,
Yeah.
Frankie being back out on the scene. So, what's your take on the season?
Grace is still searching for a gentleman, you know.
Well, and then trying to reconnect with her old friends, which
Yeah.
sort of doesn't.
Well, I hook her up with Sam Elliott because I know him.
But what about Frankie? How has her trajectory changed from season 1 to season 2?
Well, she's really come to the end of the road with Saul, and so she's reinventing. She wants to find out who Frankie is without Saul, and she's embarking on that. And she's furthering her business, her yam lube business.
I literally cannot say this with a straight face.
Really?
It's just so brilliant.
It's good for you.
Yams for lube, like who knew?
Well, yeah, that's true. It takes somebody who's close to the earth, like Frankie is, to know. So, and our friendship grows. We kind of really protect each other and look out for each other, even though we still disagree about everything, and we fuss at each other. You know, I mean, women our age are the fastest growing demographic, so we have a lot of ground to cover to talk about how women are discounted and ignored and so on.
Why do you think this show has struck such a chord with viewers?
It's just amazing.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it is. You know, you start a show and you really throw yourself into it, and if it doesn't work, then you're as surprised as anyone. And then, so when it really works and it's really kind of really accepted, and young audiences and older audiences, and it's really gratifying. It makes you kind of happy.
Well, I think also the writing is incredibly sharp on the show.
Yeah, the writing is good. Yes, absolutely. Well, that's, you know, Marta. We went with Marta because of her track record, and we wanted to. We felt very comfortable when she pitched the idea to us, to me and Jane.
Might I share my favorite line from season 2 with you?
Yeah.
So Frankie paints, as anyone who's watched the show knows, and her painting style is rather idiosyncratic.
Yeah.
I think is fair to say. And this is a line from one of the episodes from season 2. Hitler's circumcision is in the private collection of one Mr. Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, that's a good. That was kind of one of her kind of caricatures that she would do. you know, we're in the 3rd season now, already shooting, and Frankie has an art show. And she's already kind of, I mean, she has a style that she prefers, but she paints in many different ways. I'm
What-
not going to get into that because it's a 3rd season.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that because let's leave. There's plenty to talk about for season 2, including Frankie's reawakened libido.
Yes.
How does that play out?
Well, I'm having a romantic affair with Jacob, who is my yam man, who supplies me with the yams.
He's a yam farmer.
Yeah, he's a yam farmer, and he has really high quality yams.
He's also really good looking.
What?
He's also really good looking.
Yeah, and he's played by Ernie Hudson, who was in the original Ghostbusters. He is a great guy, and that's going along nicely.
And Frankie sort of gets her license, driver's
does
license. She sort of gets her driver's license back, sort
Oh
of.
yeah, I get my driver's license back. A lot of struggle though. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that whole sequence. Oh my God.
Come on, that's
Yeah,
one of the best
I
arcs
go
on
to the DMV
yes,
and Rasta
with the
get up.
hat and
Yeah, because I remembered that I studied for the license because I can't seem to pass the test, and I remembered that I had studied in a kind of Rasta hat and smoking dope and all that stuff, and so I go to I decide that that's why I can't pass it. I have to relive those moments, and I go to the DMV in that same getup.
And you pass.
And I pass.
Sorry, spoiler.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
you and Jane, I know that you've been friends for years. You obviously started 9 to 5 together.
Right.
How has your relationship changed since being on the show for 2 seasons now? And I mean, for now, 3rd season.
Well, we've really just gotten closer because we're together every day, you know, shooting the series, but we just like each other, so it's been very easy. And she's just so ingenuous, you know. She's so passionate about whatever she's passionate about. I mean, really, really. I went down to visit her in Atlanta one day a few years back, and she wanted me to do a sketch for GCAP, which is her charity.
Teen pregnancy prevention.
Yeah, right, about teenage pregnancy. And she was so enthused. She just wanted me to do it so badly. And I fooled around, and I did do kind of a monologue about a teenager who's babysitting for neighbors, and the husband drives her home at night, and he kind of comes on to her and all that stuff. And I never really did anything with it, but she so enthuses you that you just have to sort of go along with her, comply. And she believes, and whatever she's espousing, believe me, she believes it.
She's definitely passionate on the show.
And she's wonderful
great.
looking. She's, she just has really keeps herself in top-notch shape. I used to say, and when I presented so many awards to her and saluted her at different fundraisers, and I would always say, she's well known for her leaps of faith. When I first met her in 9 to 5, she'd say, we've just got to take a leap of faith. And so I said, that's what's kept her in good shape all these years, those leaps of faith.
Well, was this show, in a way, a leap of faith for both of you ladies? I mean, you guys are producers on the show as well.
Yeah, well, we are,
So was it?
but not much. I mean, we have say-so, and, oh, it's a cup of water, that's nice. Yeah, we can put our 2 cents in, you know.
Are there specific story
Sometimes
arcs?
we hit.
I bet. I somehow doubt that you don't say much, but
Well, other people are capable.
Well, but are there specific topics or story arcs that were very important for you to get in?
Well,
to the show?
they're very important. We were glad this fell into our laps because we are women of a certain age, and those are in quotes, and we wanted to draw attention to that. You don't see older women in movies particularly. They're always kind of doddering in some kind of sweatsuit, and they're the butt of a joke, or they're so kind of that they make the joke because they're so uninformed or whatever, and we wanted to change that if we as much as we could, and we wanted to talk about that terrible discounting that they do of people of an age, and the fact that they're not thought of as sexual in any way at all, and just all the things that women face. Younger women face them too, but different kinds of problems.
And the fact that, your show is optimistic but also grounded in reality about the challenges of starting your life over.
Yeah.
When everything just falls away.
Yes, that's true.
And
It is grounded in reality. I mean, it's a comedy, but it also has deeply felt emotional passages.
what kind of feedback have you gotten from women?
Oh, they love it. They just really, and a lot of men too, but young women, middle-aged women, older women, they say the show gives them hope. They love I think young women, I think, like one young woman we just saw this morning, she said, I don't have any older people in my life. And she said, and she kind of vicariously lives that trip through us. She doesn't have any grandparents or anything like that. But, young women seem to think, or younger women seem to think it kind of, they see that, they can project themselves into the future and see how much we've made of our lives, both as actresses and as the characters in the play. And it's entertaining at the same time. And of course, the guys, Martin Sheen and Sam Waterston, are just fabulous. And when we got them, we thought we hit the jackpot because we are crazy about them. We always thought, because I was on West Wing with Martin, and Jane was in Newsroom with Sam. We said that we were sort of spawned from Aaron Sorkin. We all had that in common.
He's responsible for all this indirectly. Yeah. I need to ask you about Frankie's style, because she's got a very specific look, and I feel like it's really come into its own this season.
Has it?
Oh my God, the statement jewelry alone. Where do you guys find it?
There's a lot of people who can, the different artists who we get jewelry from. The big crystals and stuff we get from a couple of particular people. And then they just find, the costume designer is awfully good, and she just finds all kinds of great stuff. And, like I have a really great necklace I recently got made out of the little caps you pull off of beer cans, and they're all laced together in a certain way. They look great.
How has your comfort level changed with being Frankie? I mean, it's just the show has such an ease to it this season.
It has a what?
An ease to it.
An ease?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that probably comes from, first of all, we had very uneasy circumstances when our husbands left us, and that made for a lot of tension. And but also, as we do it for many, many months, and you just, you get comfortable. It's easy to go on the set. You own the set. The set is yours, and you go on it, and the house is yours, and the clothes are yours. And I'm going to start dressing like Frankie.
I think you should. If nothing else, you need to wear that hat that she wore to the DMV. I would pay really good money to see you in that hat.
That's pretty hip.
The Rasta hat. Do you have a Grace in your own life?
A Grace?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would say, I always think I'm going to say my partner, Jane Wagner. at first, but then I think back, and she's so much more like Frankie. I mean, it's so, I mean, she's sort of, I think in some ways she's all things to me. So I think she's Grace on one hand, and on the other hand, I realize she's really Frankie, and I'm her Grace. And it's a little mixed up.
And I feel like with you, you're so busy. I mean, you did Grandma, you're headlining this show, which is now filming the 3rd season. How are you finding this decade of your life? I mean, do you find that there are rich scripts being sent your way, or do you have to create the opportunities yourself?
Well, these 2 vehicles just sort of fell out of the sky, you know, including Grandma. I had done a movie with Paul Weitz, and he took a liking to me, and he had invented this idea or thought about it a good deal, and just suddenly pegged it to me. And he just called me up after we wrapped admission and said, I've got an idea I want to talk to you about. And I didn't know what it was going to be, and I had no idea it was going to be a movie role. And he advanced the idea, and he wrote the script in a very short time. And that turned out very happily. And then I'd already had Grace and Frankie at that moment. And that also I got a call from my agent. He said, are you and Jane Fonda looking for something to do together? And I said, well, we are now. You know, it just was one of those things. And we met with Marta, and she pitched the idea to us. We thought it was great. We were very happy to try it, and we just threw in our lot.
What's been the most gratifying part for you?
Otherwise, I'd be down in Palm Springs, like enjoying myself, lying in a hammock.
Giving speeches, giving awards to Jane Fonda.
I'd be giving awards to Jane Fonda, that's right.
Hashtag leaps of faith. That's what this is all
I'd
about.
drag out that old leaps of faith line. I'd use that again.
But what's been the most gratifying part for you of playing Frankie?
Well, I say this somewhat facetiously, but not entirely. I mean, the money. It's always good for cash flow. But then it's the fun of being with Jane, and then the show being a success. That's great fun. And it's a good feeling. And when you meet people, if they really love the show, you know, it's pleasing. It's pleasing to do something that people appreciate and get something out of it. You know, and yet we all think our shows are important. Then we realize that they're just passing into the history of entertainment.
But that's something. That's important.
It is. I'm not disputing that. I'm just kind of realistically acknowledging it.
Now, I know that you've said in numerous interviews that you would like to go back to Broadway at some point to do another one-woman show. So...
Well, now that does change the world.
Come on, Miss Lily Tomlin. How's that happening?
No, I invest that kind of fee. I mean, like Jane, when it comes, I invest that kind of absolute, genuine enthusiasm and passion for a vehicle that's, you know, written especially for me, or that I'm doing, that I really have to work pretty hard at to help pull it all together. Yes, I would like to, but I don't really see it in my future. Maybe, who knows?
But the time commitment on this is probably too intense for you to really be here and really be invested in doing a show, because that's 8 shows a week. It's
yeah,
no joke.
I only do 7. I don't do 8.
Lily Tomlin, folks.
My truth. Well, I did 8 for a while in my first show. No, in The Search I did, the first few months. And I did 4 shows in like 28 hours. I'd do a show at 7 and at 9:30 or 10 rather, and then I do 7 and 10. I didn't do matinees. And so from hour to hour, it was only like about 28 hours or something ridiculous.
Dear God.
Although I was up a lot, but I'd sleep the next day. I'd take Monday off, and I took off Sunday and Monday, or Monday. Anyway, I took off 2 days. But it was a much younger audience. I had a really hardcore, a younger audience that would go to a late show, a 10 o'clock show.
They would still go. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, they probably would, but that was back in the 80s. Maybe you would go.
I would go.
Well, you're a hot stepper.
Just think, you could serve yams at intermission. You could combine, use the two.
Yeah, that's right. I would cook them right. I could come out myself at intermission, and I'd put them on an open flame and say, get your yams right here.
Do you keep a diary like Frankie does?
No. I wish I did. Then I would have remembered that I was here before. My experiences are so elusive. When I go to a hotel, I don't remember being at the hotel. I go on the road all the time, when I'm not making a show like this. And my stage manager, my road manager, he remembers everything, every place we've been. I'm just sort of dumbfounded, I think. I can't even remember where I lived when I was doing other shows on Broadway.
You got to journal.
I live in my head.
Like she does. And now let's take a few questions from our audience.
I first heard of your work from my father, God bless his soul, when you were on Laugh-In through reruns, and you were incredible on the show, just way ahead of your time. The whole show itself also light years ahead of anything else that was going on. What are a couple of fun memories you have while working in that environment? Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, it's like being on, in those days, if you were on a hit show, there were only 3 networks. I mean, Fox wasn't even around, for at least not that I recall. So we were, and I didn't go on Laugh until the 3rd season. I came in mid-season, the 3rd year, and I introduced Ernestine, and that just catapulted me. It was amazing. I mean, I wasn't popular, she was, and people didn't even know I was her. So I'd be back home in L.A. and I'd be in the supermarket or something, and I had appeared as myself in other parts, and they'd say, "Oh, you're that new girl on Laugh-In," and I'd be real kind of modest and everything, and then they'd say, "And who is that girl that does the telephone operator? She's hilarious." And I said, "I do the telephone operator," and they'd just be terribly surprised and somewhat pleased, but it was just so separate from me. And I went out on the road with Dan and Dick. But anyways, memories, the biggest thing is, Artie was very fond of taking off his clothes. And we were playing like a scene on the desert, where everybody's, "Oh, water, water." And he's like taking off his clothes slowly, piece by piece. And you'd have to go out there and stop him, to finish the sequence and all that stuff. And the best part thing was, we had a book, the script of an episode, and Carolyn Raskin was the producer. She did all the really tough assembly work of the show and all that, keeping the records of, because we would have people come in like Johnny Carson or Marcello Mastroianni or anybody in the world would come into the studio, and we would start shooting blackouts with them, just one-liners, and the kids on the show would run downstairs and change clothes, run back up in another turtleneck or something, and they'd have to, and then the writers would be there writing lines, and you'd just go and do the crossover and blah, 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 blah. It was just a madhouse. And so they would get a big stack of one-liners that they could insert in any show. And Carolyn used to keep all that up in a script on a podium up in the middle of there was no audience, but there was room for an audience, but it was empty. And Henry Gibson set fire to the script one day. He just went over and lit a fire to it. And it was, that was hilarious in retrospect.
Wait, he just like walked up to the script and lit it up?
And lit it on fire and it burned up.
But why?
Just to be mischievous. You know, just to act up, just to be. We did a thing one time. We were painting a big mural on pieces of paper, huge pieces of paper, and we got to throwing the paint at each other and everything. And then we decided to go in the control room, and we started running for the control room. And all the executives just ran, and they went to lock the doors because we would have thrown the paint on the machinery. I mean, we were just so full of ourselves. I mean, I wasn't that full because I was new to the show, but the other kids were really full of themselves. You know, it was just incredible. When I first went on the show, and I didn't air for like 8 or 10 weeks or something, and I just wanted to have someone to eat lunch with. The other kids were big stars, Artie and Joanne and Ruth, and you know, the kids on the show were really huge hits. And so anyway, those are from some of my...
That's a pretty good memory. I would have to say, especially the lit script. That's, you know, I feel like that's a Frankie move. And we have time for one more question.
Hi, Lily.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Who or what inspired you to become an actress?
You know, I can't say... I mean, people have inspired me to try to get better, but I put on shows all my life as a little girl. I lived in an old apartment house that was just filled with people, and each apartment was just dazzling. There were, you know, uneducated people, highly educated, very political, apolitical, very conservative. There was every kind of person you can imagine. And I just went and I played the room. I'd go to the apartment and I would do whatever they were doing, just so I could hang out there. And but I would put on shows on the back porch. Every apartment had a back porch, and then I would sell tickets to the neighbors.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I didn't know anything about business or the fact that people had shows. And I started doing this when I was very small. Like, you know, I mean, I took ballet and tap at the Department of Parks and Recreation, but I was kind of a cheater, you know. I would, like, wet my toe shoes, and I would tie them with a big twine so I could get an arch in them, and I didn't have to work them out so much. But I put on show, and I would do everything. I would do magic tricks, I'd tap dance, I'd do ballet, I'd wear my mother's slip like an evening dress, and I'd tell jokes that I'd seen on television. And I was just mad to put on a show. And I don't know, and I got the idea partly from the Department of Parks and Recreation, but I'd never been to the theater. I'd been to movies. I don't know where I got the notion, and then when I got into, college, I didn't think you did that to make a living. You know, you did show business for money. So I went into pre-med, and I was, but I went in altruistically. I really wanted. You guys are laughing at me. I'm telling you, I wanted to be a doctor and do something good. Well, everybody did in the early 60s, late 50s and into the 60s. We wanted to do well by doing good. That was the credo. And I totally believe that. Just because you get money doesn't mean you're a success by any means, Trump aside.
Nicely done, Miss Lily Tomlin. Woo! And Grace and Frankie streams on Netflix on May 6th, season 2, the entire season.
Yeah.
And You must watch it because this lady right here is also great at officiating weddings. Who knew?
Oh, I am. I am in real life.
Oh, you are in real life?
Yeah, I'm ordained. I'm ordained. Would you like me to marry you to someone today?
I had no idea. I would have come better prepared with like a man to marry. I had no clue that you were officially like ordained to do it.
Anybody can do it.
Well, I know, but you have to go online
It's
and
kind
get
of
the certificate.
it makes the whole thing of marriage seem kind of questionable.
Well, thank you so much. And come on, guys. Lily Tomlin. This is all